And with that, we're back this morning. The time is now 8:44 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In studio with me, Dr. Thompson, Christal, myself, Ari, and our guest, Winston George. And we're discussing the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project if you're just joining. So what we're talking about briefly was the creation of a super app, if you don't mind me calling it that, for persons to interact with the governmental services here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And Crystal, you had a question relating to the app
Yeah. Um,
and the
well, the
website.
system,
Yeah.
is it going to be an implementation into the current website or into a new and separate platform?
Um, that has not been determined fully yet, but I would want to think that there would be some revamping of the government website, but more so, that portal will hold most of the services. So, as a citizen or resident or someone transacting services with the government, you have one particular place to go rather than all over the place.
Let me say, I look at this as two aspects. There's citizens, and then there's also business and citizens. A lot of this is about competitiveness. There was a time, 2007, when St. Vincent was considered number one in the world for obtaining a building license. It was a big thing. Since we've slipped, not because of St. Vincent, but because other countries have introduced electronic means. These things you're putting in make it that doing business as a World Trade Organization issue, doing business in the Eastern Caribbean, because it includes your island, is going to significantly become easier. Easy. I mean, I used to see guys walking with a briefcase with all their documents, walking up back street, walking down this street, going here, going there. They still can't get things done. There are countries in the world where there's corruption. You got to pay off people to get things done. These sort of electronic means eliminates that, shortens the time, and makes St. Vincent a competitive place. Is this one of the
Actually, if we were to look, say, at the land and property transaction, there where you have to purchase land for certain types of investments, and so I believe that was one of the things that had our doing business, although they may have discontinued it, our doing business ranking was, quite low. So the time taken to transact business to exchange a piece of property or piece of land is sort of slow and an impediment to business. That was one of the things I could recall.
Doc had asked a question earlier before we took the break about security.
Right.
Let's talk about security.
So I want to talk about two things there. There is a regional component of the project that looks at harmonized policies, harmonized legal and regulatory framework. So you have, for example, you have the OECS Commission that is coordinating that aspect of it. You have the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank that is addressing the whole matter of data protection policy and the legal and regulatory framework, data protection and privacy, but they are also addressing the whole matter of payment systems. Now, data protection and privacy, especially when it comes to things like financial data, you could see the role of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in that case. In the case of, say, the government payment platform that we are looking to put in place, it has to be implemented according to international standards. And there's an international standard, PCI DSS, which is the payment card industry data security standard. So the government payment platform that we are implementing has to be implemented in terms of that particular standard. we talk about the data center. The data center in itself will have its own securities built in within it. Currently, for example, the ITSD is ISO certified. So those international security protocols will be applied to, say, the data center. And we are addressing the whole matter of cybersecurity seriously. So the question is that we are grappling now is because the banking system also needs a cert. Not only the banking system that has, I'm not too familiar with what are the cybersecurity protocols, but in any case, a worm could come into one system and maybe infect others, because people move around things. So we have to look at the whole matter of cybersecurity. So this is where we are establishing the computer emergency response team to monitor any possible security breaches, because you would hear them from outside, certain threats. So we have to be aware, and that is something as you roll out more digital footprint, you have to address the whole matter of security. Dr. Thompson spoke about PayPal, and so I think the PayPal matter is more one of actually receiving money, because to send money through PayPal, you could actually do that. The matter is one of receiving, and I could say to
which is the more important
which is the more important one, because I would speak to two other aspects of the project that I haven't touched on. One has to do with the adoption of digital technologies by small and medium enterprises. So the project will provide support, but that one is a more demand driven. So as the small and medium enterprises, they require certain support to use digital technologies in their businesses and so on. That is important, whether it's online marketing, putting their content out and so on. But receiving money. So now you put your business globally, but there's not an efficient method of receiving payment. So that is the aspect that we have to pay attention to. And I want to say to you, from the highest level, I sat in meetings with the Minister of Finance, and he engaged PayPal. And to this day, we are still baffled as to why that cannot be changed. But we are looking at the whole business of the data protection and privacy legislation under this project. We hope once that is addressed, that particular matter could be sorted. We are also, another aspect, we are also providing under the project digital skills training at the regional level. The OECS conducted a market assessment for the need for digital skills and digital services and so on. And they have identified that was done locally, regionally, and internationally. And it points us to where we need to provide training in intermediate and advanced skills, and also to allow our citizens to be able to have those skills to provide services, not only nationally, regionally, but internationally. You could stay in probably the comfort of your home and provide those sort of services, high-level digital skills.
So what I'm curious about is, at the end of this project, who will be in charge of managing the new system?
Well, currently, that's a good question. One of the things as well that we have done is to have what you call a digital transformation strategy. So even until we are implementing this project We are looking at a digital transformation strategy for a next 5-year period, but also within that, we thought it important to look at the institutional framework to sustain the gains under the project. So currently we have the Information Technology Services Division within the government that provides that support. And we also have different units in customs, in tax, even in the registry that provides the support. But we thought that we needed to look at an institutional framework to do that. Going forward, we have not come to a decision on that matter, but it's an important question because it changes the landscape. You are looking now at providing 24/7 government, and therefore it would call for an institutional relook to implement that. I recently saw something where Barbados has actually gone to a government, Digitech company to support their digital transformation process and efforts. I'm not saying that is what we would do here, but it's an important question. That is something that we have to think about.
A follow-up to that one is the cost of managing. This is funded by, if you could repeat it, you said the World Bank?
Yes.
Right. So at the end of this, when the $30 million US, this is now a cost on the government, correct?
Yeah. So yes, it has costs for implementation, but within it too there are efficiencies that would be gained, returns that will come back to the government for that. But for example, in some of the systems that we are looking at, because the cost of it comes from procuring the systems, right? Some of these systems are complex, advanced systems. But we are also looking at what you call digital public goods. So these are, foundational systems that virtually every country has. And what happens sometimes is that you procure complex systems, and then you have license and maintenance costs and so. But to address all that, we are looking at there's room for open source software as well, but also to build the competencies of our own people to sustain these systems. Not only within the public sector, but we now have to think of small and medium enterprises within country. So if we are developing certain types of systems, we must have the competencies within our own market, to provide support for those systems. Some of them you may not be able to go into the underlying language and so, but providing the support to the government to sustain.
Christal, you just asked a very important question in terms of the ongoing costs and so forth. But a lot of experience has been obtained from observing countries like Singapore and various other cities and countries that have gone into it. It's surprising how much cost savings there is you're building into the system, one. How much revenue collection you're able to speed up and be able to monitor and so forth and things like that. And I think as we go back to that whole word of competitiveness, it really there's a lot of studies that have been shown that certain improvements in your IT structure has this ripple effect on GDP, a ripple effect on gross domestic product, both from the small businesses point of view. If a business that's only selling in St. Vincent or only selling in Beckway is now able to sell to the wider Caribbean and to the world, and grow and so forth. Therefore, all those things have an impact in some way. There are ways of measuring these things. And so the investment that you make, the 30 million, it doesn't mean that's even another 30 million the next 5 years. Right. It means that you've built in how you are able to think. So it's really interesting. I mean, I'm in the wrong field. I know why I went into medicine. I got to switch at this late age. You know what I mean?
Not too late.
So what?
It's not too late to switch.
Well, in the light of being time effective at the present moment, we have to wrap up the conversation. So, is there anything you'd like to leave with the listeners?
I just want, for the whole of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, everyone to, get familiar with the project. We have our website, which is dtp.gov.bc. We are also on Facebook, YouTube, social media. We are working, real hard to, transform the government services to serve you better. And indeed, we want you to be a partner with us in the implementation of the project.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Mr. George. I just want to add that we can't underlook this project. The Caribbean Digital Transformation Project is a very, very necessary tool in not just the convenience, but the progression of a developing country. We're years behind in terms of our processes in government. Clearing a barrel, doing simple things like you said, getting a new ID card or a new board paper. So this project is very, very important, and I really look forward to see what it's going to do to improve things on the governmental end, help citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Ari, I just want to say when you say we're years behind, believe it or not, other countries may well haven't been doing this for 30 years because this stuff wasn't there 30 years ago, but they've been doing it maybe 10 years. So we are years behind, but the short years that we can now leapfrog and learn from the experience of how to do it right.
No, definitely.
And I just want to just add to what you were saying.
Yeah, no problem. So the time now is 9:01 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it's time for ECCB currency exchange rate brought to you by